Say what you like about the Rings of Power, but one of the real standouts of the entire show for me were the Orcs. There was something so terrifying, so visceral and almost primitive about them that they just jumped out at me from the first time we got to see them on the trailers. I honestly feel like the costumes and prosthetics were absolutely on point, and were certainly on par with those in the trilogy. Now I know that might be fighting talk to some of you, and I'm sure you'll be letting me know about it in the comments below, because you Rings of Power haters do seem to be rather vocal, but if you can bottle your hatred for just long enough, I'm going to be painting up something super cool. Since the release of the series, I have been eagerly waiting to hear of any miniature companies that are making, or at least planning on making minis for this franchise, but up until now, I've been left disappointed. But finally, I've been sent some Rings of Power inspired miniatures, and honestly, I absolutely love them, and cannot wait to get some painting done, and I'm really hoping you guys are going to like them too. I'm Benji, and welcome to Benji's Hobbies. So these are the minis I have been sent. As you can see, they come with various bodies and weapon options, so they are super customizable, and no two orcs need to look the same. There's a selection of daggers, swords, spears, staffs, and even clenched fists to make sure that every orc can be armed differently. Now normally I would expect models like these to be manufactured by one of the big wargaming companies like Games Workshop or Cool Mini or Not or Asmodee, but these guys were designed and printed by Sam from Forgemaster Minis. Forgemaster Minis will probably not be on your radar as a big wargaming company, but honestly they really should be for very good reasons. First off, I feel like a lot of people who aren't into 3D printing just switch off when I start talking about 3D printed miniatures because, well, they don't have a 3D printer, which is totally understandable. I'm essentially speaking a foreign language to someone who really isn't interested. What Forgemaster Minis offer though is either a custom 3D printing service, or has the license to sell minis from various designers, mostly specialising in minis that would be great proxies for the Middle-earth strategy battle game. And whilst I'm a big fan and advocate of 3D printing because of the host of amazing miniatures that it opens up, I do get very frustrated and fed up with the process of 3D printing. From failed prints, dealing with chemicals, and worst of all, punctured FEPs, 3D printing can be a bit of an annoyance, and I'm more often than not happy to pay somebody to print minis for me. The print quality is exceptional too. Normally, I feel like some 3D printed resin can be somewhat brittle, even with appropriate settings and the right amount of curing, but this resin not only looks amazing with some super crisp detail, but also feels a lot more like a regular plastic than 3D printed resin. The second thing to be excited about with Forgemaster is that Sam has been designing his own range of 3D printed bits and has started creating complete models too. And if these early attempts are anything to go by, then oh boy are we in for a treat. Now when I first saw the initial renders of these dudes, I got really excited. As I said earlier in the video, I've been eagerly awaiting someone to make minis from this series, in particular because I love the way the orcs look. From an initial glance over these models, it's clear to see that they were definitely inspired by the orcs from the Rings of Power. The ragtag layered clothing, the bone helmets, the rather savage looking primitive weaponry, and those grim, almost prehistoric looking faces all fit the aesthetic so well, and are a really solid representation of what we see in this series. I'm not entirely sure what these are going to represent for me on the tabletop yet. They'd make great Morgul Stalkers or Hunter Orcs, but for now at least I think they're going to make a really cool and very different battle company. Now normally for minis like this, we would expect a rather long process from initial concept through design and manufacturing to finally hitting the shelves of your favourite wargaming store. Amazon seems to be holding its cards really close to their chest at the moment, and I have seen very little Rings of Power merchandise out there, so we don't even know if we're going to see minis for the series at all, which I think would be very disappointing. I mean, more Middle-earth miniatures can only be a good thing, right? What I'm really starting to notice as an emerging trend is as soon as the trailer or promotional imagery of a film or TV series is released, there's an army of talented sculptors out there creating some amazing looking STLs. This means that almost as soon as we get our first glimpse of these creatures or characters on our screens, then someone is already working on a model for them. Now we don't have to wait weeks or months for large companies to make these minis, they're in our hands as quick as we can get them 3D printed. It's crazy to think that for so many years there have been some insanely talented sculptors out there who simply had no outlet for their work. Whilst the process of sculpting a mini might be somewhat straightforward for someone with the right skills, getting them cast and then manufactured would more than likely have been cost prohibitive. 3D printing has given these skilled sculptors a way to get their work out into the world, and we now have a greater variety of miniatures available to us than ever before. Now these minis were an absolute joy to paint. The details on them are absolutely incredible, and they're going to look so good when they face off against my opponents across the table. The versatility of this set is just outstanding as well. The number of weapon options that come with them is a huge added bonus, and I know I'll be using the remaining bits to convert my plastic orcs to give them that much needed variation. Make sure you go and check out Forgemaster Minis and look at what's on offer. I've included all the links below to the various social media sites, as well as a link to the Etsy shop and website where you'll be able to buy them from. If you want to support the channel, then you can do so by checking out the links in the description below. There you'll find links to my affiliate accounts, and if you want to drop me a couple of pounds a month, then you can check out my Patreon down there as well. If you want to just say hi, then make sure you go and check out my social media accounts too. Thanks so much for watching, and I hope to see you guys in the next video.